It is Tuesday. I am Coach Jen. I am here with Take Your Life Back with Grit and Grace. And we also have...
I'm Coach Leanne, and I am the Grit and Grace part of Take Your Life Back with Grit and Grace. And we're so excited to be here tonight because we are talking to, well, Jen's mostly going to do the talking tonight because she had to return to work for this week because her boss is in town. And it is, I want to know, what is it like to go back to work after 18 months where your office has essentially become a time capsule? And because I saw some of your pictures, I saw one of your, I don't know what it was. It was a video of you going, yep, here's my calendar. It says March 2020. And I found that very funny on one hand, sad on another, because it just goes to show you, I'm trying to turn off my email because, okay, there we go. It just goes to show you that we have essentially been cocooned or mothballed or whatever for 18 months in our society, which no matter what your political views are, that is an awful long time to do a sudden switch. And while Jen went back to work this week, my husband's company has chosen to keep him home office permanently, which, yay, we're going to need a bigger house. There's just not enough room in this place for the two of us. While we have figured out how to work it in the last 18 months, I am very much in confidence to say the man needs to go back to an office. So Jen, how was it going back to the office this week? What was it like? And how many people stopped in your office and would not leave because they haven't seen you in 18 months?
You know, so it's funny. So it wasn't just my office that was like that. One of my coworkers, her calendar still said March 2020 as well. And so we were joking that we had matching calendars and our offices looked much the same. At some point in time over the last 18 months, HR must have handed out little succulent plants and mine died. Because so a lot of times HR will give things out and they'll just leave them on your desk so that when you arrive to work, you have something. And so at some point they must have given out this plant. And of course, I haven't been there, so mine just died. There are some people who have been working through a decent chunk of this time period because for some of our systems, it's easier to be in the office. They don't, the productivity on some of the systems really slows down through the VPN just because the volume of data that we work with. So some of the accountants strongly prefer to work in the office. So as soon as the office was open enough to allow people to socially distance and work with a mask on and whatever the rules were, I don't know what all the rules were. I ignored them because I stayed home. A bunch of those folks went back into the office, and so they were all there. But it was funny because we had to move desks in order to accommodate the social distancing and all these things. So the people who were in my suite just right outside my office in the cubicles, I don't know any of those people. Oh. I think I recognized like one person. And so
wow.
I didn't have to deal too much with like people coming into my office because all of a sudden I don't know anybody in my suite. They really kind of flip-flopped departments and tried to, so during this time period, we not only had to immediately go remote overnight, the whole company, but then as we did slowly reintegrate, we also needed to figure out, well, where are our inefficiencies that we now need to fix like as quickly as possible. And so we did have a couple of departments that we decided to centralize And that one of those departments then took over most of the suite that I'm in.
Okay.
Um, and so that's why I'm like, I don't know any of these people. A lot of them are new because when we centralized it, we had some turnover. Um, we did have some furloughs back beginning of April in 2020. So some of those furloughs came back, some did not. And so that's why I just don't know these people, which is very odd for me. So I've been with this organization for 12 years. So I always feel like I kind of know everybody because I started there when we were maybe 100 employees, maybe, and
Oh,
now we're 500. But I still, I've worked in various departments, so I kind of knew most people. But I have to say, today in my office suite, or yesterday and today, I was like, I don't know these people. But for the other project managers on my team, it was really nice for us to see each other. And of course, we were a little chatty, we've got catch up with each other. We were all annoyed with the commute. Um, we are annoyed with the prep work that it takes to bring everything back into the office, take it home, bring it back. I shared some stories of the extra meal prep and work that I've had to do, so that I could still try and eat healthy. Um, and so it's been a big adjustment. I've had to get up about an hour and a half earlier than what I had been. Even though I am one of those people, some people are like, oh, I roll out of bed, right at 8 o'clock and turn on my laptop, and then maybe I brush my teeth on my break. I don't do that. I actually get up an hour or so before it's time for me to start work, and I get ready and make my coffee, and um so I have to get up even an hour before that. So that's an adjustment. Um and honestly, I think that has been the hardest part is the prep, the commute. Um, I have to say that given all the office things that I have to do, like I have to go down the hall and into another office for a microwave, for a fridge, for an ice machine, for a water dispenser, for any of those things. I'm like, and I must go over there 10 times a day. Like, I'm pretty sure I waste more time being in the office just trying to do simple things, fill my water bottles, get some ice, whatever. I don't know. I question my productivity being in there, but that's okay. Um, but it's been an adjustment, just mentally. You realize the comforts of home that you no longer have with you when you're there. You do suddenly feel like you're in a sterile environment. Things that you never even noticed before 2020 that you didn't even think about, suddenly it feels very sterile, very unwelcoming. So today was a gloomy, rainy day. I keep a heated warming throw on the back of my office chair in my home office. Well, we're not allowed to have these at work. So it was a super, I know. So it was a super rainy day, and I'm like, I really just want my warming throw in the back of my office chair so I can sit cozy and do my work and be on my conference calls. And it's like those little things that truly give an actual work-life balance. For so long we were told by corporate America what a work-life balance was. And by the way, it's not a real work-life balance.
no.
Um, so now that I've been able to experience a little more of what a real work-life balance could look like. Um, and then now going back in the office for a week, it's made me realize, no, being in the office is not a work-life balance.
No, no, it's not. And let's see, my last job, I worked anywhere from 50 to 60 hours a week. My company was just special. Let's put it that way. They honestly didn't care about their employees and flat out told them that maybe you weren't company material. I'm not telling the company, but look on my LinkedIn profile, you figure it out real quick. But that company did not care if I had a work-life balance. I had a director that said, y'all, your family, your home life is number one. And should something happen, drop everything, because at the end of the day, company will not be here for you, and they don't care if you're here because your chair will be empty and they'll fill it with the next warm body. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but that is essentially what he said. I have this hair that is driving me nuts. Sorry. God, Zoom. Anyway, so the company asked him to seek excellence elsewhere because they did not like that attitude, because what it did was it gave the people, the engineers and such, the empowerment to take care of what needed to be taken care of and leave work at work. We'll figure it out later. Freeing for someone who works for him and was responsible for managing employees for him, but not so freeing for the people who didn't like that. And I think, just from observation, from what you've told me, because my world of people who work outside the home, who I'm really close with, or have traditional jobs, let's put it that way, is small. And I've observed my husband, his company has chosen to reduce their real estate holdings, or that's not even the right term, but they have chosen to keep the people who are working remote and doing it well. That they've chosen to do that. They've hired people in other states that they hadn't, there's no intention of moving them here because they can work well remotely. So my question to you, Coach Jen, who has her lovely throw in a cold, rainy, crappy day. So I know that your boss is in town, but is there a plan for you to go back to your company? Into
the office. So there is a plan that was supposed to be announced already. And then I heard rumor that they were going to announce it this week. And I thought maybe that was part of why I was supposed to be in the office. That still has not occurred. I do have to say that for my role, we all, in my opinion, have been able to very successfully do our roles as a project manager remotely. But again, I don't need direct access to the accounting system. I, as a project manager, should not be digging into those details doing the work. I should be overseeing the project. So I don't need access. My needs for my role are very different from what some of the other employees are experiencing. And then I know for me personally, I don't have any small children at home. I do have a team member who has younger children at home. And so some days he prefers to work from the office. And I can definitely see that.
Oh, yeah.
My hope and strong desire is that they decide that, hey, if you are in a role that does not require you to be in the office and you are showing that you are able to be productive in a remote role, you get to remain remote. But I don't know. We're waiting that decision. I do know that I only need to be in the office this week. as of right now. We're waiting for the policy to be released. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting.
Because your boss is remote, correct? Has
My
she always been remote?
She's been remote the last several years, yeah. Prior to her buying this house about 2.5 years ago, she would be remote about 6 months out of the year. Anyways, so yeah. So, you know, I don't know. I know she would prefer that when she's in the office that we all have an opportunity to have a team meeting and to gather and to collaborate. And I do have to say, we had a new team member that started this week. So it's been nice that we've all been in the office. And so we've been taking turns kind of training him, giving him a lay of the land. Obviously, that is a little simpler in person.
Mhm.
It is not impossible to be done remotely, though. It takes, in some aspects, it takes more effort. You maybe have to get more creative, but it can be done. I think it just requires us to go outside of what we're used of our comfort zone. So, yeah.
Yeah, my husband has brought on a new employee, oh gosh, within the last 3-4 weeks. And, he has taken the opportunity to, set him up. The computer being shipped to him was the only thing I've really heard Eric complain about, because IT's not really synced up. But you know what? At the end of the day, who cares? The man has his computer. He is being trained. And yeah, you're right. There's a little more effort that goes into it. But from what I understand, from what Eric is telling me, Eric is my husband, for those of you who don't know, he's up, running, super productive, and there is no reason for him to be on site because, as all of you know, the way Jen and I are talking tonight, I'm in Richmond, Virginia. She's in Kansas, Wichita, right? Yeah, Wichita. She's in Wichita, Kansas, and this is how we communicate every single week, a couple times a week.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I won't see her in person until September, which I'm so excited about. But that's neither here nor there. My point is, you don't have to be elbow to elbow to people now. And we proved that in 2020 when the world shut down and everything changed on a dime. So my curiosity is, I wonder if American corporations are going to figure out that their employees are happier. Well, okay. A lot of their employees are happier being home.
Yeah.
It's their operating costs are probably a lot lower with people being at home. And, if you want to hire somebody in Wichita and your company is in Richmond, you really don't need to move them there, which is bad for people like me who want to move south. I'm just saying. And that's how I've moved all over the country, is I've moved with my job. So my job has moved me. So I'm just curious how corporate America is going to respond to this. And I'm also curious if corporate America is going to start seeing how valuable their employees really are in the moments when they pivot, like they have in the last 18 months.
Yeah. I think, I honestly, from what I'm seeing, the more forward-thinking organizations have already adapted and been like, look, we've already been remote the last year.
Mhm.
This isn't a problem. I think that unfortunately, there are still some organizations out there that believe that, nope, we need to create this status of the old normal. And I think that I'm interested to see, because I think that's going to be harmful to their organization, to the culture of their organization. Um, I think that 2020, if anything, it gave everybody a moment of pause, a moment to determine what's really important in life, what you really want, what your vision really looks like. Um, and so I think that, you know, I think when companies aren't taking some of that into consideration and really considering an actual work-life balance, that they're going to struggle. My only concern is there really are some folks who have struggled working from home and who actually need the structure of an office.
Yeah.
And I do have to say that it is probably difficult as an organization to determine, how do we accommodate all these different working styles? Do we attempt to accommodate both sides? What's the right way? What's the, I don't know those answers. Um, and then again, I know my organization has had a long-standing policy that you could not in any way work from home if you were the primary caregiver for someone in the home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's been our long-standing policy, because we've had some folks who were like, hey, I have a sick elderly parent that I need to be around to just assist throughout the day, just to make sure they don't fall or they don't turn on the stove and forget, and so can I work from home until I can maybe get some home health care set up, or could I work from home 2 days a week? And our policy is long standing been no.
Huh. Interesting.
Absolutely not, because in according to our organization, it is not possible for you to do your job and be a primary caregiver.
Oh, I wonder how that's going to change, because obviously
Obviously,
you can, because
no,
you used it for the past 18 months. Oh my gosh.
no.
I know, right? Crazy talk. But
Yeah.
and to your point, that I had a really good to your point, and it just kind of jumped out of my head. But oh yeah, they just proved that they did. Oh, I know what it is. To your point about people needing the structure of the office, there's also the other flip of, I live in the middle of nowhereville, like my parents, and the
Ah,
internet sucks. And so you need to be in a place where you have good internet. And I know around here that was an issue for some people, and especially in Eric's company, because they live out in the country, and they can have FiOS and hot spots and all kinds of things, but it's not enough to run their programs.
right.
So I wonder if, hey, I would love to take this job. I understand it's remote, but I live in BFE. Is it possible for me to have a space in the office? And I wonder how that's going to be moving forward. There's a lot of things that companies need to really sit back and consider. I would hate to be in HR. I know you have an HR background, but I would hate to be in HR. A, I'm not nice enough. I'm just throwing that out there. But B, there are a lot of human factors that you need to consider, especially when, yes, the world is opening back up. Yes, we can finally go and, participate in society without stupidity, being all over our faces. But to make those policies and to make them fair, I've heard a lot about the great resignation is coming, because people who have gotten really accustomed to their creature comforts, to sitting with their desk and their warm blanket and, being home with their dog because their dog gives them comfort, or, going and sitting out and talking to a neighbor, or petting the passerby dog. That's what I do. I give my neighborhood dogs treats. That quality of life is huge for people. And so I've heard talk about, people are really considering, to your point, whether they want to stay in the job that they're in. There's, I've heard on the radio as well that, people may start moving into the entrepreneur space much more availably, much quicker. And we're going to start seeing this probably in the fall and see what people want to do. We're already seeing here in Richmond, I don't know about Wichita, but, people are, in my neighborhood specifically, my neighborhood is always sold well, but in this neighborhood, if you put up a house on Monday morning and you want it, you better have your poop in a group, because it's going to be gone latest Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
It is insane here right now. And they're paying over market value.
Well over market. Yeah.
Well over market value. Now, some would argue that that's to create a glut of rental homes. Some would argue that no, people just want to move. Some would argue, there's arguments as to why this is happening. It doesn't matter why, it is happening. My parents are a prime example of that. They want to move, and they have desire to have acreage and everything, and the houses that they're looking at, there's just stuff not available what they want. And so they're kind of forced to consider if they want to build a house in their 70s. They did it in their 40s and they nearly killed each other, and it nearly killed them. So, there's a lot going on that has radiated out from, it's kind of like the butterfly effect of COVID,
Yes. I would not want to work in HR either. I know there's been a couple coworkers who their school district, for one reason or another, and I'm not even sure of what districts they are, but I know that there's been some people who the district already required parents to submit whether or not their kid was going to be remote or in person for this next school year. Like the decision already had to be made.
For the 21-22?
Yes.
Oh, you're kidding.
No. And so some parents, based on the fact that they've been working remote, made a decision. And then now our organization is just now coming out with a policy. We don't know what it's going to say. And so I I definitely don't envy our HR director at this point in time. But the turnover rate is already high. We are definitely understaffed. And that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And we are not, listen, we're understaffed with accountants and controllers. These are not jobs that we're making well above their salary just by doing unemployment. This is not. No. So that whole excuse, that whole thing, that's not the case. Yeah. People just aren't there. They're not. And I have to wonder, when I think about women in the workplace, how many women, because of 2020, realized, hey, I need to stay at home, and have had to make that shift. I think there were so many changes that happened in 2020. And it was such an opportunity for a moment of pause for so many people that ripple effect is now occurring. So yeah, it's interesting times for sure. A lot of change, and so much of this change, this is scary, right? Change is scary, where we want to run towards love and safety and belonging and all this change. So last year that got thrown for a loop. We were forced into something. And then now all of a sudden, maybe you just got to the point that you accepted it or you're feeling better, and now you're being thrown back the other way. Or maybe you never fully adapted, but there is no return to normal. Normal looks different.
Yeah.
So you're still required to change.
Yes. Yes. And stubborn people like me who have, and I'll be honest, I wore a mask one time on an airplane. I got sick. And because I was breathing my own crap back into my body. And so I have been very much of the attitude that I'm not wearing a mask and I'm not doing the socially accepted things, because I was told that in a one-on-one, and I about jumped through the Zoom camera and told her. Anyway, so I'll admit it. I have been that person, but I have also not gotten sick. My husband was sick. My parents were both sick because he got them sick. I have walked out of this thing unscathed. I got acne. Okay. If that's the worst I got, fine. So what I say all that to say this, we have been thrown for a loop societally, is that the right term? And you so eloquently put it, the way you put it is the reason I think that we got into this work. Now, you may specialize in health and I may specialize in life, but at the end of the day, coaches are coaches. And we got, I don't want to speak for you, but I got into this work to help people kind of take back their time, take back their life, just like you, and quell the chaos. And we haven't, I don't think we have seen the end of the chaos and the turmoil yet. And stubborn people like me who have been trying to hold on to 2019, I'm winning a little bit.
Are you?
I am a little bit, just a little bit. I have to tell you about the cockroach story later.
Oh,
That'll
God.
be something for you all to tune into next week. But I have worked a lot with my coach on the 2019 feeling that I do not want to give up. And that is my normal. That is what I strive to get back to. But I also know that it's not coming back. And I know that because when we were traveling a couple of weeks ago, and you tell me if you saw this, I saw millennials running around in totally open free states, running around with masks on, because their minds have been so twisted by what the last 18 months has done. They're literally scared that they're going to die if they take a piece of cloth off their face, which, hey, heads up, everybody, there's more crap on that thing than, just breathing and your natural filtration system's working.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I'm just curious about that. And I heard your son, and I don't know what he said, but
Oh, the dog is upset because I'm not paying attention to the dog.
Oh,
and so
well, we're almost done, pup. Just chill
yeah.
out. My neighborhood dog walked past, and he gave me a sup look, and he kept going. Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, no, there isn't a going back to 2019. I mean, there are some things that are, I guess, going back to quote unquote normal, if you want. But so for example, great example, one of the things that I noticed today is some of the partition walls that we added to the upper level of the cubicles in our office suite. We did that to further attempt to block air travel. I don't know whatever the theory was, right? But as I was sitting in my office today, looking out my door at that, I then saw it as, these new partitions are actually really nice. Now, the people that are in the cubicles might feel like they have like a
Space.
tiny area of privacy, of a tiny, and it's just a cubicle, okay? Let's be real of what it is, but a tiny space for them. I mean, I can remember before I got into this role and I was in the cubicle, like it annoyed me, like in the winter time and my allergies would be acting up and I needed to blow my nose. I would be like hiding under my desk, like, oh my God, it's just so that I wasn't like snotting in front of the person, because the cubicles face each other,
Yes,
right?
yes,
So you're
yes.
facing each other, and I'm like, well, I don't want to,
You're
and right. And so now there's these like frosted glass partitions, and I'm like, you know,
so they're nice, first of all.
things, yeah.
Yeah, they're not like the ones you walk into and you're like at the bank or any
The
other
plexi,
the
no,
plexiglass that's quarter inch, and I, being an engineer and having learned the beauty of plexiglass, I'll go up to them and I'll shake them and I'm like, this is made like garbage. How much did you all pay for this?
a lot of money.
A lot of money. But you walk into some of these places and they will fall over on people.
I know.
They're a liability. But you said nice frosted glass. Yeah, I mean, really.
Yeah.
So, okay, yeah, your HVAC in industrial buildings should be able to handle Legionnaire's disease, which is far more deadlier than this garbage. So what I'm saying is, yeah, if it's nice and it's quality, cool.
Right.
But if it's that slapped up piece of garbage that they bought from Uline because Uline suddenly got a hit on all the plexiglass, and yeah, nah.
No, but it got me to thinking, that's just one way in which there is no going back. But this was a very positive, in my opinion, a positive change.
If it looks like, yes.
I would think, I mean, as someone who sat for many years in one of those cubicles, I'm like, yeah, this is way better than what I had.
Yes. Yeah, and it sounds like it was way better than what I had, even at my last company.
Man. So there isn't, when I say there's no going back to 2019, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's no going back to opportunities for freedom, because in some aspects we've made some changes in a good direction. It's just it just looks different. It just looks different.
Yeah, I don't know. Now, I have worked from home in a home-based business for 5 years. I do not know that I could go back easily. I mean, I know I could if God forbid something happened, but I know I would struggle. I would struggle.
Yeah.
Mostly because of the people. I mean, if I don't want somebody to see me here, I just turn off my camera.
Right.
And I mute myself when I blow my nose. So.
Yeah, it's like all those little office nuances that we now, so I just was sitting there and I was staring out at the environment and what it looked like, and some people were choosing to wear a mask and some were not, and that's fine. And so it just kind of got me to thinking as I was looking out at it, it's just different. There isn't really a going back, but there's a new way forward, but it is going to require some adjustments. It's going to require
Yes.
some discomfort. It's going to require some, you know, I'll be honest, if you ask, you know, some of the Gen Zers, like if you ask my son about why he chose to wear a mask, even though there were many times he didn't need to, in his mind, he didn't want to ever live with the thought that what if I'm wrong and I were to accidentally give something to someone. And he was like, I don't know that this is protecting me or them, but if it does protect them, I want to protect somebody. And that was just his own mental, it wasn't even necessarily like fear as much as it was, um, in some aspects, it did become comfort, which is a whole other topic we could get into another day. But for some folks, and actually we do need to address this, and because I wouldn't doubt if it's a large population of the millennials who have just spent the last 18 months wearing a mask for their entire day, there is a certain level of comfort that has now occurred in that. And so asking them to go back to some standards from 2019 is now a whole level discomfort. And so that's
But
another topic for another day, but yeah.
True. It might be next week. But it does make me wonder, you know, the power of suggestion.
Yes.
And the fact that we're finding out new things now, and it's just,
you know,
but that's a different topic for a different day.
Different topic, different day. Yes.
No, you nailed it, Jen. You nailed it with going back to work, man. Thank you so much.
The risk and the reward. The risk, you know, the risk is the discomfort of change, of my cozy little, losing my cozy work-life balance that I get from being at home. The reward is I've been able to socialize, see faces. You know, there is a level of comfort in that, in knowing, you know, we've shared some experiences. You know, finding out that a lot of our experiences over the last few months have been very, very similar.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely there's reward in connecting. People need connection. At the end of the day, we really do. So yeah, that was my week back. I don't know what it's gonna look like from here on out. So I'm just taking in this week, and it's giving me a little more moment of pause for, okay, I forgot how much time out of my day all this prep work takes, how much time out of my day the commute is, how much, you know, what I thought was a work-life balance is a joke. It's given me a new yet another new perspective that I, you know, they say, what is it? Oh, what's that saying about time? Like time heals old wounds or whatever. And it's funny how time passed. I forgot what it was like. Now I'm experiencing it again and going, you know what? This is not freedom.
Right.
Not. So, yeah.
Well, thank you, Coach Jen, for being so open with everyone about your experience going back to the office this week. And I hope you get to choose, and you choose to hang out with your blankie, because, you know, that's where I would be.
And the dog, right?
And the dog, right? And your actual life, not
perceived,
not
perceived
the wonderfulness of life. Yes.
Yes.
So with that, I am Coach Leanne.
And I'm Coach Jen. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Take Your Life Back with Grit and Grace. We're on every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. So be sure to subscribe so you can join us every week for future episodes. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a